Hi everyone, hope you all are good. We are here for grade 8 math. So you can find all the lessons on aplusstudents.com. You have to log in there using your email address and password as provided by the administrator. Then you have to select math from the subject tab. Scroll down to grade 8 and then click on view all lessons. So there you can find a list of the chapters. We're going to start with the chapter proportional relationships. And the lessons we're going to cover today are identify proportional relationships, find the constant of proportionality word problems, solve problems involving proportional relationships. So please make sure you have your notebook and pencil so that you can note down the important examples and definitions as well. So we are already working on the chapter proportional relationships. We have started this lesson in the last week. So today we are going to see how do we identify proportional relationships. What are the proportional relationships? So we have already discussed in the last lesson. What are the proportional relationships? What do you know about the proportional relationships? Proportional relationships means the relationship between the two variables. If one of the variable is increasing, the other variable is also increasing with the same ratio, right? That would be the proportional relationship. So today we're going to see how do we identify if a relationship is proportional, right? So you are given with the graph. We have to see how do we see if the relationship is proportional. Let's see the identify proportional relationships. And let's just start with the example. Okay, select the graph that shows a proportional relationship between x and y, right? So one thing about the proportional relationships is proportional relationship means if the will if the uh, one variable is increasing, like x is increasing, right, y is increasing with the same ratio as x is increasing, right? That is known as the proportional relationship. So the graph of the proportional relationships always a straight line, and it passed through the origin. So if the graphs look like this, that means that is the proportional relationship, like this is the origin, right? So if the graph look like this, it is passing through the origin and it is a straight line. That means the graph belongs to the proportional relationship, right? The graph of a You can note down the graph of a straight line. Proportional relationships can be represented by, you can note down on your notebooks, proportional relationships can be represented by the graph of a straight line through the origin with a slope equal to the unit rate, right? So that is about the graph of the relationship, the graph of the proportional relationships, right? The proportional relationships have the graph that is a straight line and the graph is passing through the origin, right? Let's just do practice questions, then it would be more easy to understand. Okay. Select the graph that shows a proportional relationship between the x and y, right? So that means you are given more than one graph. You have to identify which graph is the proportional relationship. This just look at this graph. Just look at this graph. The graph is a straight line. but it does not pass through the origin. So this is not the grill. The graph that does not represent a proportional relationship between x and y because it is not passing through the origin, right? For the proportional relationships, it is important the graph passes through the origin. Got it? Okay, just look at the another example. The graph is a straight line passing through the origin. So the graph represents a proportional relationship between x and y, right? Let's just start with the practice questions. Select the graph that shows a proportional relationship between x and y. So you have to see which graph shows the proportional relationship. Here is two of the graphs you are given. So which is the correct option, one or two? Option number one is the correct option because that is the graph. Both the graphs are straight line, right? But the graph in the equation one is the one that passes through the origin. So for the proportional relationship, it is important that the graph must pass through the origin. So option number one is the correct option. Got it? Okay, the next one is select the graph that shows a proportional relationship between x and y. So which is the correct option? You are given two of the graphs. So which is the correct option? Yes, option number one is the correct option because the graph in option number one is the one that passed through the origin. So option one is the correct option. Okay, select the graph that shows the proportional relationship between x and y. So which is the correct option? Option one or option two? You can see the graphs. Very good. The correct option is option number one because option number one is the graph that passes through the origin. So for the proportional relationships, it is the graph of the proportional relationship must passes through the origin, right? Okay, select the graph that shows a proportional relationship between x and y. So which is the correct option, option one or option two? Which option correct one? The correct option is option number one. The correct option is option number one. Very good. Okay, select the graph that shows a proportional relationship between x and y. So, which is the correct option? Option one or option two? Very good. Option number two is the correct option. That is the graph that passes through the origin. So, option two is the correct option. Select the graph that shows a proportional relationship between x and y. So, which is the correct option? Mhm. You can see both the graph. Which option is the correct one? Option number one is the correct option. Got it? Okay, we are done with the lesson. Let's just start with the next lesson. And the next lesson is find the constant of proportionality word problems. So, how do we calculate the constant of proportionality when we are working on the word problems? Let's just start with an example, right? For example, you have to calculate the constant of proportionality, and we're going to start with an example. Constant of proportionality, right? For example, you're going to arrange a picnic, right? And the picnic cost $12 if $12 for three attendees, right? Alternately, if the picnic has four attendees, it costs $16, right? You have another option, it costs $16 for four attendees, right? You have to see, calculate the constant of proportionality, right? Proportional quantities have a constant ratio, right? And that constant ratio is called the constant of variation. We can make a chart. The chart is, you have attendees, that is X, and then you have the cost, that is Y. So for the first one, you have three attendees and $12. You have four attendees and $16, right? So you can calculate the constant of variation or constant of proportionality. Constant of variation and constant of proportionality, they both are exactly same. You have to do y over x, right? That would be 12 over 3 and 16 over 4. So 3 times 4 is 12 and 4 times 4 is 16. You can see the ratio is always constant, right? That is 4. That means the constant of proportionality is 4. The cost is $4 per attendees, right? That's how you can calculate the constant of variation for the different relationships. Let's just do practice questions. Here I'm on the lesson find the constant of proportionality with problems. Let's just start with the test questions. Okay, the first one is, Janelle grow okay, Janelle grew 9 plants with 3 seed packets. Then later in the season, she grew 15 plants using 5 seed packets. So, how many plants can Janelle grow with one seed packet? Okay, we have to calculate the constant of variation or constant of proportionality for the question. Let's just see how do we evaluate. We have to make a chart, because when you make chart, that would be easy. Okay, you have 9 plants with 3 seed packets, right? So seed packets is, and plants. 9 plants with 3 seed packets, and later in the season she grew 15 plants with 5 seed packets, right? That is y, and the seed packets is x. You have to calculate the constant of variation by y divided by x, that is 9 divided by 3, 15 divided by 5. 3 times 3 is 9 and 5 times 3 is 15. That means Janelle can grow 3 plants from one seed packet. The correct option is 3. Got it? That's how you can calculate the constant of proportionality. So the constant of proportionality is 3, right? Okay, the next one is, Harold's Auto Wash has had revenues of $12 from customers. At a point, the auto wash earned $18 in revenue from 33 customers. How much revenue does Harold's Auto Wash have per customer? So, which is the correct option? The correct option is, you have to, very good. The correct option is $6, right? That would be How much revenue does Harold's auto car wash have per customer? It would be $6, right? You can see here you have $12 for two customers, right? Y is 12, X is 2, sorry. Then at the other point, another point, you have 8 over 8 and 3, right? So you can do y over x, that is 12 over 2 and 18 over 3. So 2 times 6 is 12 and 3 times 6 is 18. So that means the correct option is 6. Got it? The correct option is 6. Okay, the next one is Harry took a total of 12 quizzes over the course of 6 weeks. After a school vacation, he took 14 quizzes over the span of 7 weeks. How many quizzes does Harry take per week? So, which is the correct option? 12 quizzes over 6 weeks and 14 quizzes over 7 weeks. So, which is the correct option? The correct option is very good. That would be 2. The constant of proportionality is 2, right? You can do 12 by 6 and 14 by 7. So, that would be 2. Okay. Anita took a total of 8 pages of notes during 2 hours of class. Then later in the year, she took 16 pages of notes during 8 hours of classes. How many pages of notes does Anita take during an hour of a class? So, which is the correct option? Which is the correct option? The correct option is very good. That means in during 1 hour of a class, Anita does 4 pages, right? The correct option is 4. Sydney spent 3 minutes on the phone while routing 3 phone calls. Later in the day, she spent 15 minutes on phone routing 15 phone calls. How many minutes does it take to route one phone call? Which is the correct option? The correct option is the correct option is 1. That means it takes 1 minute to route one phone call, right? The correct option is very good. The correct option is 1. Okay, the next one is Andrew ran a total of 10 miles over the course of 2 track practices. Then later in the season, he ran 15 miles over the course of 3 track practices. How many miles does Andrew run per track practice? Which is the correct option? Which is the correct option? The correct option is very good. That is 5 miles. Andrew run 5 miles in per practice track. The correct option is 5. Stanley prepared 12 kilograms of dough after working 4 hours. Then he prepared another additional 15 kilograms of dough after working another 5 hours. How many kilograms of dough does Stanley prepare every hour? Which is the correct option? The correct option is very good. That would be 3 kilograms of dough Stanley prepare every hour. The correct option is 3, right? Okay, the next one is Jessica's graduation picnic will cost $12 if he has 3 attendees. Alternately, if the picnic has 4 attendees, it will cost $16. What is the cost per attendees? Which is the correct option? Which option is the correct one? The correct option is very good. That would be $4 per attendees, right? The cost is $4 per attendees. Okay, the next one is can I learn to sing a total of 5 pieces over the course of 5 weeks of voice lessons? After a short break, he learned 11 new pieces over the span of 11 weeks. How many vocal pieces does Kenley learn per week? Which is the correct option? The correct option is one vocal piece per week, right? That means can he learn one vocal piece per week? The correct option is one, right? Okay, the next one is John bought 8 souvenirs during 2 days of vacation. Then on another trip, he bought 12 souvenirs during 3 days of vacations. How many souvenirs does John buy during 1 day of vacation? Which is the correct option? The correct option is that means on 1 day of vacation, John buy 4 souvenirs, right? The correct option is 4. You have to find the ratio between both the values, right? That would be y over x. So souvenirs y is 8. We have to do y over x, right? So you have 8 over 2 and then you have 12 over 2. So 2 times 4 is 8 and 3 times 4 is 12. So the ratio is 4. The correct option is 4. Got it? Okay, you can complete the lesson by yourself later today. Let's just move on to next lesson. The next lesson is solve problems involving proportional relationships. So how do we solve problems with proportional relationships? Let's just start with an example. Okay, let's just start with an example. How do we solve the problems using proportional relationships? Okay, so for example, you are given with the equation, right? That is C equals 5V, right? The variable V represents the number of visits to the art museum and the variable C represents the total cost, right? V is the number of visits and C is the cost of each visit, right? So that is the equation that shows how the total cost of visiting art museum as a members is related to the number of visit, right? That is C equal 5B. That means for every visit it cost 5 and it cost $5 for each visit, right? So how can you evaluate this equation for a member of the art museum, which is a total, what is the total cost of 4 visits, right? The total cost of, you have to calculate cost of 4 visits. How do you evaluate this equation, right? So that means a member have 4 visits. That means V equals 4, right? Just put the equals 4 in the equation. That is C equals 5 times 4. That means $20. The cost of the 4 visits to art museum is $20. Got it? So let's just start with the practice questions from the lesson. Okay. The equation shows how the total number of books Jack has read depends on the number of months he has been part of a book club, right? The variable M represents the number of months he has been a member of book club and the variable B represents the number of books that he has read. After belonging to After belonging to the book club for 1 month, how many books will Jack have read in all? Right? So the equation is B equals 7M. M represents the months and B represents the books he read in 1 month, right? So when M equals 1, the equation is you have to see after belonging to the book club for 1 month, how many books will Jack have read in all? So, after 1 month, you need to see how many books Jack have read. That means M equals 1. So, just replace the M equals 1 in the relationship. That would be 7 times 1. That means B equals 7. That means in 1 month, Jack have read 7 books, right? So, the correct option is 7. Okay, the next one is this equation shows how the amount of time that a receptionist named William spends on the phone is related to the number of phone calls he routes to employees. T equals 5P. P represents the phone calls he routes, and the variable T represents the number of minutes he is on phone. If he route one phone call, how much time will William have spent on the call on the phone in total? One phone call, right? That means P equals 1. So replace P equals 1 in the relationship, which is the correct option. That means if he one phone call, he will spend 5 minutes on the phone, right? Because 5 times 1 is 5. So the correct option is 5. Okay, the next one is this equation shows how the number of flowers Anita can have. How the number of flowers Anita can have in her garden is related to the number of seed packets she purchases. That is F equals 9s, right? The variable S represents the number of seed packets she purchases, and the variable F represents the total number of flowers in the garden. What with one seed packet, how many flowers, total flowers can Anita have in her garden? So you have one seed packet, right? So with one seed packet, how many flowers she can grow? That means you have S equals 1, right? Because you have one seed packet. So replace the S equals 1 in the equation. Very good. That means with one seed packet, she can grow 9 flowers. The correct option is 9. 9 times 1 is 9. So that means she can grow 9 flowers. Okay, the equation shows how the total number of necklaces Wendy owns is related to the amount of money she spends on additional necklaces. The variable D represents the amount of money she spends on additional necklaces, and the variable N represents the total number of necklaces she owns. With $10 to spend on new necklaces, how many total necklaces can Wendy own? So, which is the correct option? Because N equals D, right? You are given $10. D replace the D with $10. That means then N equals 10. The correct option is option number 1. That is, with $10, she can own 10 necklaces. Got it? Okay, the next one is this equation shows how the amount Daniel earns from yard work depends on the number of hours he works. D equals 5 hours. The variable H represents the number of hours spent during yard work, and the variable D represents the amount of money earned after doing a total of 2 hours of yard work. How much money will Daniel have earned? So which is the correct option? Very good. The correct option is replace H equals 2. So that would be 5 times 2. The correct option is 5 times 2. The correct option is 5 times 2 is 10. Right? The correct option is 10. That means after doing of 2 hours of yard work, Daniel can earn $10. Right? Okay, the equation shows how Ryan's earnings are related to the amount of time he spends earnings are related to the time amount of time he spends working at the drugstore, that is M equals 20h, right? 12h, sorry. The variable age represents the amount of time he spent working at the drugstore, and the variable M represents the amount of money earned. After spending After spending 1 hour working at the drugstore, how much money will Ryan earn, which is the correct option? The correct option is, after working 1 hour, the money he earned is $12. The correct option is $12. Okay, the equation shows how the cost of a corporate team building event depends on the number of attendees. D equals 5A. The variable D represents the number of attendees and the variable D represents the cost in dollars. If there are 4 attendees, how much will the corporate team building event cost, which is the correct option? The correct option is, very good, that would be 5 times 4, because you have 4 attendees, right? That would be 5 times 4 is 20. Very good. The correct option is 20. Okay, the equation shows how the time required to ring up a customer is related to the number of items being purchased. T equals 3P. The variable P represents the number of items being purchased and variable T represents the time required to ring up the customer. How long it takes to ring up a customer with 2 items, which is the correct option? Very good. If you have 2 items, so you have to do 3 times 2. That means the correct option is $6, right? T represents the time, so that means the time required is 6 seconds, not dollars, sorry. Okay, the equation shows the total cost of visiting the art museum as a member is related to the number of visits. C equals 5V. The variable V represents the number of visits at the art museum and the variable C represents the cost of those visits. For a member of art museum, what is the cost of 4 visits? Very good. It would be 5 times 4. That would be 20. The correct option is 20. That means 4 visit cost $20. The equation shows how the amount Ben earns from babysitting depending on the number of hours he works. That would be D equals 13H. So the variable H represents the number of hours spent babysitting and the variable D represents the amount of money earned. After a total of 1 hour of babysitting, how much money will Ben have earned? Very good. That would be $13, right? If he worked for 1 hour, he earned $13. The correct option is $13. Okay, we are done with the lesson. So we were working on grade 8 math. The chapter we're working on is proportional relationships, and the lessons we have covered today are identify proportional relationships, find the constant of proportionality word problems, and solve problems involving proportional relationship, right? So please make sure before the next session you can complete all the practice questions for the lessons we just did. That is your homework until next session, right? And if you need more help with any of the lesson, any of the question, you can contact any tutor on the Skype. They are available from Monday to Friday, 5 to 9, right? Or either you can join me in the interactive session that would be daily from 4 to 5 and from 9 to 10. So that's all for today. If you have any question, you can please ask. I'm here to answer all your questions and confusions if you have any. Please ask questions if you have any. No questions? Okay, then that's all for today. See you in the next session. Bye, everyone.